Hello, everybody. This is John Felt. Welcome to the NCGA Valent Ag Weather Outlook, June 4th, 2016. Well, there's a lot to look at, a lot to talk about. I have a couple things I want to pass to you. The weather's certainly not stable over the next couple of weeks. We see a lot of changes coming in. But before I talk about the forecast, let's do a quick review of last month. You can see that really the hot spot here has been right through the Central Plains. And once something sets up, I look for some reason that it might change. So let's keep an eye on that. This has been the area that's been more active. This is Bonnie, Tropical Storm Bonnie right in here. But really Texas has been the area that's received the most precipitation. So we look at the precipitation anomaly. Yellow are areas that have received less rain than normal, and you can see more yellow than green. Green is where there's been more rain during the month of May. So ideally, I would have liked to have seen green during the month of May heading into the warm season of June, July, and August. So we were doing really well up until May, and May turned out to be drier than normal, especially over the eastern corn belt from Illinois across Indiana into Ohio. Now, if we look at temperature anomalies here, temperatures haven't been so bad, a little bit below normal actually, as we went through May. So that kept the evaporation of some of that soil moisture down compared to what it could have been. So we're still in okay shape, but like I said, I would have liked to seen a bit more precipitation in May. Now, over the last 7 days, it was quiet for the most part. There were a couple pockets of more moderate rain, and that was indicated in yellow. But really the story was in Texas. I know it's been on the news with the record flooding. You can see the areas in yellow over 2.5 inches, areas in red over 6 inches of rain. So very, very busy. Most of the Corn Belt, a quiet week. So we look at the departure from normal temperature over the last week. It did warm up a bit. Eastern Corn Belt averaged 3 to 6 degrees above normal. The rest of the area was fairly close to normal, maybe a couple degrees above normal. Now, soil temperatures with that warmer temperature, you can see they've been modestly warming overall in the 60s now, except for the very far upper Midwest still lingering in the 50s. Now, I sent out a couple posts this week. One of them was talking about the drought. There's still no drought over the primary corn belt, but look at these little splotches of yellow. When you start to see that, that's saying when it's starting to get dry, these pockets, and I think we're going to see some in this area as well over the next week. So that's indicating to me we do need some extra rain at this time. 1 to 3 inches would be great at this time over some areas, not all areas, because there are still some areas that are wet, and these are indicated in green here, especially Kansas, parts of eastern Nebraska, central and eastern Nebraska, far western Iowa. Those areas are wet, especially the areas in blue, so that doesn't need more rain. But look at Indiana, Ohio. You see some pockets of that yellow right there, and that's where we need some additional rainfall. Also, look at the southeast U.S. Southeast U.S. has been extremely dry. You see those areas in red, and that really could use some more rain. Now, speaking of rain, this week I'll probably be talking a little bit more about the tropics. There's a system down in the Yucatan Peninsula area. You can see it's indicated by the X, and that's forecast to move north and get into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, the current models, the ensemble, are a number of models here, bringing it into North Florida. Now, I will say over the last 24 hours, the models have been shifting a bit further north. Yesterday, they were in Central Florida. Now they're here. So I'm not going to rule it out that they might continue to move north, and it could bring some needed rain in here. The parts of the southeast that need it, but right now that's not what the models are suggesting. But let's keep an eye on that, because that definitely with the models, you can sort of see if this thing just goes a little bit further north, all these tracks pull off to here to the left. So right now there's very good agreement right here, but we'll watch that. It's a number of days away. Okay, so let's look at the forecast here. I have a big change that's coming ahead, and one of the things I try to do is I always try to let you know, to be one of the very first to know of these big trends. So sometimes you say, well, you talked about cool weather or wet weather or dry weather, and sometimes I'm talking weeks in advance, and I'm going to be talking about a trend. So this week you can see we have this dip in the jet stream right here. So this week we're going to be talking about cooler temperatures, pleasant temperatures for this time of year. Temperatures anywhere from 2 to maybe 5 degrees below normal most areas of the Corn Belt. So it's going to be, from a standpoint of temperature, a pretty enjoyable week, at least the first 5 days or so into mid to late week, depending on what area you're at. We have this cold front pushing through. This is on Sunday. Still a shot of some precipitation over the eastern Corn Belt this weekend. Not a good chance, but at least a chance. But once that front moves through, that's about it. And here's your precipitation. So I don't think we're going to really be talking about anything of significance for precipitation this week. Now, the only area we're going to be watching is down here, and I think this is going to shift up a little bit further north, the heavier precipitation. This was based on a model coming through here. So we'll watch the southeast U.S., especially Florida, for the tropical system moving into that area. Okay, now here's going to be the trend. 6 days on, 6 to 10 days. Look at this ridge of high pressure, really pushing north here. So the central U.S., we're going to have unusually hot weather in this 6 to 10 day period. And here we go. It's not going to impact the eastern Corn Belt as much in 6 to 10 day period, but right through the western and perhaps central Corn Belt, we can expect those unusually hot temperatures. Then as we get into the 11 through 15 day range, middle part of the month, the ridge in the jet stream is still centered over the middle part of the nation, but it's not quite as pronounced. That still means that we're going to have warm temperatures. So about 5 days of pleasant temperatures, and then we're going to really warm up. And I see that continuing right through the middle part of the month, if not the latter part of the month. So that's your trend. Okay, now as far as precipitation goes, it looks like I said this week's going to be a very quiet week, dry weather. If you hope for some additional precipitation, that front hasn't passed through yet. That's your only chance. Once that goes through, it's going to be a quiet week. Week 2, still a bit inconclusive. Models are hinting at perhaps a chance, but it does not appear to me to be a big rain-producing week next for week 2. As far as soils go, soil temperatures, you can see here that it sort of cools down a bit in the east as that cooler air pushes in, and then we begin to see it warm up in the west. This is by the end of the week due to those warmer temperatures. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're in the area that has been quite wet, I guess it's fortunate, it's going to be drying out over the next 10 days. Elsewhere, if you need some precipitation, unfortunately, it's going to be drying out as well. So I see a lot of brown. I see a lot of deep brown. So Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, finally, it looks like we're going to be drying out. If you need some precipitation in other spots, it doesn't look all that good. So I think I've covered all the main topics here. The alert is out there past 6 days. It looks like some hot weather is in store. The trends are that modest cool down this week, followed by that hot weather. Looks like a dry week once that front passes, and week 2, nothing all that interesting as far as precipitation goes. Let's keep an eye on the tropics. If you're in an area down in that region, I'll be following that over the next week, and hope you all have a great week.